Hello, I hope you're okay. On the day I'm recording this, it has been glorious sunshine all day, which is why I'm in my car. I've taken myself off to my favourite place, up at the Airs, to just have a look at God's creation and absorb the nature, look across the horizon and realise how big the world is and how much more there is going on. Yeah, and so maybe you can enjoy the scenery behind me whilst I'm talking today. But yeah, it's been really sunny all day, so if it is still glorious sunshine on the day that you're watching this, I hope you have some lovely plans to enjoy it. I hope you are topping up your tan, having a barbecue, getting the paddling pool out, going for a lovely walk, doing whatever it is that makes you happy, finding nature, walking on the beach, whatever it is. If it is not so sunny today on the day you're watching this, I'm really sorry, and I hope you have something nice planned still, an alternative to enjoying the weather. But I hope you're good. I hope you had a good week. I hope you had a good day so far. We are on our final week of Meals with Jesus. Can you believe it? I thought when I planned this series and it was sort of 8 weeks long or however long it's been, I didn't realize it would go so quickly. I hope that you've found it helpful. I hope there's been some good stuff in it. I hope there's been some good kind of conversation starters for you with your groups if you listen to in a group, or some good practical points that you've maybe followed up on and done. I hope there's been something in it that you have found rich and good and has drawn you closer to Jesus. I hope it's helped you to figure out a little bit more for yourself who Jesus is. And this week, on our final week, we are looking at in Luke 14. Originally, when I planned this series, I was going to talk about the second half of Luke 14 and the great banquet, but actually, as I've planned it and written it and taken the time, I actually going to kind of focus more on the first half. But I would encourage you at this point in the video to pause it and read Luke 14, either like 1 to 15 or 15 to the end, or the whole thing if you've got time, ideally the whole thing. But I'm going to kind of focus on the first half, really, because as I was reading through it, it was just jumping out to me more of kind of, again, some of the themes we've been talking about across this whole series. So pause the video here and have a read of Luke 14, and then come back and I just will share a few thoughts. If you're back now and you know what I'm talking about, I hope it makes sense now, the reason that I've thought, do you know what, I'm going to focus on the first half, because I feel like the first half of Luke 14 really emphasizes to us again who Jesus is and who he chose to spend his time with and what he chose to do with what God had given him. And I just, yeah, as I was reading it through, you know, seeing who Jesus chose to heal on a Sabbath, and then I guess who he invites to the banquet, who he tells us to spend time with and invite to the banquet, not friends and family who are going to invite you back. But, you know, I think he says, depending on what version you read, kind of the poor and the needy. And it just really highlights to me the significance of the gospel, of what it is to follow Jesus, what that looks like, of what equality looks like, of what distributing what we have with those who need it looks like, with treating people the same, with inviting them to our table and spending time with them, and it being God's kingdom open to absolutely everybody. And it just blew me away. I was reading it maybe with fresh eyes this time, and I thought, you know, what a nice point for us to end on in the series. What a place for us to stop and think about these meals with Jesus, not just in this one with the banquet, but with the whole series of who Jesus chose to spend time with. If you were at church around the table in Peel, we had some amazing conversations about Zacchaeus and who we thought he was, and we kind of went down a few different avenues of why Jesus chose Zacchaeus, what that would mean. And that's what I'm hoping you've got out of this series. Some bits to really think about and think for yourself and reflect on who Jesus is. Who's Jesus to you? How does he show up in your life? How do you look like Jesus to other people in your life? And this final passage really feels like it tells us really clearly who Jesus is, what he asks us to do, who he asks us to see as he sees them, who he asks us to include, invite and bless, who he asks us to spend time with, who he asks to invite us to our table. So I'm not really going to give much. I had a whole load of notes planned, but I just feel like it is a part of the series that's important for us to talk about in your groups together. Take some time, if you're not in a group, if you're on your own, take some time to reflect on it. Highlight the passage. What jumps out to you? What is Jesus saying to you? Who is Jesus to you? Do a brainstorm. Just spend a bit of time. Who is he asking you to spend time with? Have you been spending time with those people? For me, at the minute, I'm speaking a lot with people about forgiveness and who is God asking me to forgive? Who do I need to let go of and trust God with? What situations in my life? And I think, yeah, it's a good point for us to maybe take this week to reflect on our own lives, on the work that God is doing in us and through us, with stuff we maybe need to lay down, people we need to invite to our table and spend time with, people we need to acknowledge and allow them to feel seen and part of something and part of God's kingdom. And I can't do that work for you. Only you know who has been put on your heart or has been put in your life to do that with, that God has asked you specifically to do that with, has chosen you to spend time with somebody, to connect with somebody. And it's the same thing I say most weeks about going for coffee, having a meal with them, going for a walk with them in this glorious weather. But who is God asking you to invite to your table, to prepare your banquet for, and to eat with and spend time with and talk about Jesus with? So I hope the series has been helpful. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you don't feel like this week has just been a bit, not a deep dive like maybe we have done in a couple of other passages. But that doesn't mean that it is a wasted week. I would really like you to spend the time reading the passage, studying your own life, spending some time sitting with God. Carve out that time to talk with Jesus and pray this week. Who is on your agenda to spend time with? Who is who do you want to invest your time in and spend time with, and with no kind of ulterior motive, no conditions, but just because you feel like God has asked you to have that person in mind. Pray for them, pop them a message, meet up with them if you can. No conditions, no other ulterior motives, but other than to spend time with them, get to know them more, bless them. And hopefully that is something that you can do this week. As always, I'd love to hear how you do that. Let me know how I can be praying for you. And yeah, have a great week and enjoy the sunshine.